Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being on, this way or this way on check-in, like every Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We have a casual discussion with hospitality leaders. And today I am very happy to have Jessica Lum with us. Hello, Jessica. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Pierre? Thanks for having me.
Very well. I do love the background you have. That's from San Francisco travel, this background. Where did you get it from?
It is. It is. It's one of, I think, four different virtual backgrounds that are available for anyone to download and use for virtual meetings. It's on our website. But yes, this is of Dolores Park, I believe, with a lovely rainbow. We'll
Yes,
make it to the other side.
I've never seen it before. This one is very nice. So I'm going to use it, I think. And I like the little San Francisco logo you have on the bottom right of your screen. It makes it very fancy and very nice. So thank you.
Sure thing.
That's a very good start.
Yes.
So Jessica, for people who don't know you, I always like to introduce yourself to our viewers. Then, they will know a little bit of who you are. I'm not going to go through your whole entire things you've achieved, but just to give you a sense of a glimpse of who you are. Do you mind if I start by spending 2 or 3 minutes going through what you've achieved?
Sure. Go for it. Thank you. Thanks for taking the time to put together an introduction.
You're welcome. So, Jessica Lum, you are currently the Director of Public Policy and Executive Office Programs for San Francisco Travel Association. We do have 80 connections in common on LinkedIn. So we know some people together, and there is a reason for that. You are from Northern California. You studied at UC Santa Cruz. You had a BA of Economics and Environmental Studies. You had a certification from LEED, a LEED Green Associate certification. Congratulations, this is nice. And San Francisco is big with LEED, like California is big with LEED. So we'll talk about this as well. Your career seems to have a very strong emphasis on sustainability and environmental awareness, as well as community outreach. You have been very involved locally with different communities. You are a volunteer on different things. You are board members on different associations as well, and we'll talk about that. You worked in the past for two different cities on environmental services departments in San Jose and in San Francisco as well. You worked for zero waste policy. You increased the awareness in San Francisco that saved $60,000 for the city. You trained 800 people on zero waste. So you really have a big green aspect to your to what you've done and achieved, so which is great, and we'll talk about this. You and I, we met in 2014, where you were at the Hotel Council of San Francisco, where you stayed for 4 years, and you did an amazing job at the Hotel Council. So thank you very much for what you've done for hotels. And a few achievements when you were there. You achieved to were certified the Hotel Council as a San Francisco Green Business. You developed California's first annual Sustainable Hospitality Conference with over 20 speakers and over $100,000 in sponsorship. You managed and grew sustainability committee to 30 businesses or more. You launched the Rooftop Bees program, and you grew it up from 3 properties to 10 properties. And you know how much I like bees, right?
I bet you love them.
You contributed to homeless services by raising $50K and recruited 500 volunteers for Project Homeless Connect. And you launched a young professional committee and hosted 3 educational events connecting over 200 young leaders. And I am just scratching the surface of what you've achieved. I tried to make it short, but I could go on and on, but we'll stop there.
Well, thank you for highlighting all the very positive things about my career so far. The
Very
Hotel
well.
Council was a great organization that allowed me to do those fun things.
So yes, so talking about the hotel council, could you let us know how, first of all, what is a hotel council and how you got involved with it and how you learned about the hotel council? How did that whole thing came around?
Sure. So the Hotel Council of San Francisco is a nonprofit trade association. Their primary members are hotels in San Francisco, and they also do have hotels members that are in the Bay Area. They also have allied members who provide services to those hotels. And they are an advocacy organization for their members. So they work very closely with city government and the community to support the hotel industry and the hotel employees so that the industry can be successful and can continue to thrive in San Francisco. And was there a question? You were gonna say something?
No, so yeah. So how did you learn of the hotel council? How did that came around?
Yeah, so I was at the Department of the Environment in San Francisco at the time. So around 2014, I was looking for something new. And my colleague, who actually ran the Green Business Program there, referred me to the Hotel Council. And she wasn't really sure if it was something that I was interested in. But actually, I feel very lucky to have been introduced to the Hotel Council and to the work that I was able to do, because I have always been interested in sustainability in hotels. And actually, at the time, I was looking for sustainability roles in hotels. And I realized a lot of that work was outsourced to consultants. And they didn't really have anybody in-house at a property that managed sustainability. It was really, the director of engineering or housekeeping or an existing role, but it wasn't a specific role to sustainability. So when the job opportunity came across my way, it was perfect because it was a little bit of everything that I had experience in. It was a lot of sustainability, which was a personal passion of mine. It was also working with city government, which of course the organization itself is very focused on. And at the time I was working in city government. And then there's a component of the role that included giving back and volunteering. And that was something that I'm also personally interested in. So it was a very, I think, serendipitous opportunity with the time and where I was in my career, and it just worked out perfectly.
Did you, because when we met during events.
Yes.
So you started a whole committee, and that committee became a very strong voice locally and statewide for sustainability. Can you tell us what you've been able to do and how did the hotel responded to that committee?
Sure.
How you made it work?
Yeah, I mean, I can't take full credit for starting the committee. It did exist. It did exist for a little while before I got there, but I definitely feel like alongside our sustainability committee chairs and our members of the committee that we were able to take it, to whole new heights and to a whole new place. And so when I started, it was fairly new, maybe a year or so in, and our chair at the time, Michael Pace, was looking to kind of develop a vision for the committee, which I think set us on a really great path. And that vision and that mission was to make San Francisco the most sustainable hotel industry in the United States and in the world. And so with that, we were really, I think, inspired to reach for anything. And so one of those things, a shared passion between myself and our chair at the time, was rooftop bees and rooftop gardens. And so at the time, he was at the Cliffs, and he put together a small kind of herb garden with small lemon trees and different types of kind of small space greenery alongside with bees on his property. And then we were able to grow that to a number of the hotel members. And so that was a really fun opportunity for us to work together and to bring the committee and the hotel community together on something that was just unique and different. And certainly we were not the first hotels to do it. I think, I want to say the Fairmont in San Francisco, or maybe even the St. Regis was the first, ahead of the committee, but we were able to recruit quite a few more hotels into that kind of rooftop bees project. And then of course you mentioned the Stay Green Forum, which was maybe to some surprising, maybe not to others. San Francisco was the first city or in hotel industry to focus an entire conference on sustainable hotel operations. And we were able to, attract Governor Newsom to speak as our keynote and really bring in a lot of voices across the state, including Carolyn Bateta, to speak about the visitor sentiments around sustainability. And at the time, people were already visitors, I would say, were already very interested in helping cities maintain their sustainability goals. And I believe one of the, she shared a survey, and one of the questions was, how do you feel about visiting a city and leaving it the way that you found it? And many people, it was very, it was heavily supported that people who visited a city wanted to leave it the same or better than when they visited. So they really care about their impact. And so I think, we were able to convene a large group of hoteliers and operators and partners in the conversation, and also, share that really positive sentiment about how visitors interact with their destinations and their travel.
If you had to choose your proudest achievement as a hotel council, what would it be? Because we talked about a few here, but you did a lot more. What would be the most proudest thing you've done or achieved, or that you personally feel that you really had an impact and that you worked with others to make something change? What would it be?
Well, I would say, the two that I've highlighted, those have been the most fun and I think the most rewarding as well. The Stay Green Forum was a fairly large event. Going into the hotel council did not have event planning experience. And so to plan an event, we I think attracted over 250 in attendance that first year, had great keynote speakers, great breakout sessions, and certainly could not have done that by myself. So alongside hotel council staff, as well as our sponsors and our guest speakers, there was so much collaboration for us to actually deliver, I think, a successful event in that first year. And so I would say that was one of my major successes. And then, the Sustainability Committee was such a passion of mine, and certainly still is. And there's a group of a very diverse group of hoteliers and allied partners who bring their own visions of sustainability for the industry, who bring their own perspectives, and people who get it, right? I think sometimes, we speak of the industry so broadly, but this is a group of people who really are experts in sustainability, whether that's in food and beverage or housekeeping or in general operations and engineering, and they bring their expertise. And we're able to, and in my role, I was able to bring in city government experts, people from our energy companies, or our energy provider rather, or from our water department, water agency, to talk about how they can further conserve energy, or how they can further conserve water use in each guest room. And so it was really a really collaborative effort between city partners who are offering rebates, creating incentives for hotels to actually become more green without sacrificing the guest experience. So it was really all of that was just so rewarding because it was so much teamwork.
Got it. Wow. Well, listen, I know that when I was attending the Hotel Council and all those events that you mentioned, the big one was with Governor Newsom. Was it the one at the Hilton O'Farrell or the one at the Fairmont? Was the Hilton O'Farrell one? I think it was.
So there was the first Stay Green Forum was at the Hilton Union Square.
Union Square.
Yep. And then the following year, I don't entirely recall where it was the second year, but actually I think it was again at the Hilton. The Hilton has been so kind to us and so kind for that event, to host the event there 2 years in a row. And then I know that the Hotel Council has many, many successful programs, and it just proves how supportive the industry is of each other and of their employees to continue the learning and the professional development that's available.
We saw a big change as a hotel council, you know, over the last 4 or 5 years. Uh, what are the, you know, why did the hotel council change in a very good way? I mean, as far as, you know, being a voice to the hotel industry. Can you tell us what has changed when in the last 5 years with the hotel council?
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, to the best of my knowledge, and it has, I'll, be honest, it's been about 2 years since
Years.
I was at the Hotel Council, but I would say that the organization has done a fantastic job really stepping up, being vocal, and really being the voice of the industry. Tackling the tough issues, working so closely with the mayor's office, city government to really advocate for the hotel industry. And I think that's made a really big difference. That I can see, and I wonder if this is kind of what you had in mind too, is I think that they've really stepped up in their advocacy, and their voice is so much stronger. And I think they've just been able to be very upfront and out front with the industry priorities.
Very well. So you moved from the Hotel Council of San Francisco to San Francisco Travel Association. Could you tell us what San Francisco Travel Association is about? What do they do as a, you know, as an association, and what is your role? What do you do
Sure.
for them? Could you tell us a bit more?
Sure. So the San Francisco Travel Association it was formerly known as the San Francisco Convention and Visitors Bureau. So our role, we are the official destination marketing organization for San Francisco, and we market the city as a destination for leisure travelers, convention business, meeting planners. We also help book Moscone Center for large meetings. And we, generally just want to market San Francisco as, the open, diverse, and welcoming city that it is. And in my role, I focus a little bit more on the advocacy for the industry. So at the Hotel Council, we were focused on the hotel industry. And so I like to say it's kind of the other side of the same coin, where we also have hotels as members, but we also have lots of tourist attractions and tourist related businesses that are members as well. So we have a little bit of a broader scope in terms of who we advocate for and the work that we focus on. And I also work really closely with our board of directors and our executive committee. So our, kind of our governance structure at the hotel, at San Francisco Travel.
It's okay. Do you still have a sustainable role that you're looking to implement where you are now? Are you looking to implement this later on with SF Travel? Is that part of?
Yeah, so that was we recently went through a strategic planning process, and we incorporated sustainability as part of our mission. So that's a big step, I think, to cement sustainability as one of our key principles. And actually, I was San Francisco Travel, I think, wants to be as much aligned with the city of San Francisco as much as possible. So it was already a San Francisco certified green business, already a LEED certified office. So already had implemented or incorporated into their design lots of sustainability characteristics or design aspects. So going in, it was already on the right path. And so I think moving forward, it's how we can better communicate perhaps with our potential visitors about being green in San Francisco, about bringing your own tote bag, taking public transit, walking if possible. I mean, San Francisco is such a great city to experience by foot. And so as much as we can promote other modes of transit outside of vehicles, I think our visitors would have a wonderful experience, and it would be a more sustainable option as well. And there's also opportunities to engage with our partners about how they can be sustainable. Can they become certified green businesses? Where are they in their path to becoming green business? I know a number of our tourism partners are already sustainable in many ways. But I think it's, again, connecting our partners, our members, with resources, the same way that I was able to do at the Hotel Council. So I think there are definitely opportunities.
And as a product, how do you market San Francisco? What makes San Francisco so unique on the marketplace for travel destination and for conference? How do you sell San Francisco? Because I have some idea, but I don't know how to sell a city, because that's what you guys do. What are the main keywords or the main description that describe San Francisco differently than other cities in the country or in the world?
That's a good question. I hope I serve our marketing team. I serve them proud and the organization. But I would, if I'm talking to somebody about San Francisco and why they should visit, the words that I would use are diverse, welcoming. I would say that our neighborhoods have so much to offer, little different pods of culture and food and activity and attitude even. I would certainly say we have a wonderful food scene. I think San Francisco has one of the most Michelin rated restaurants, in the US or North America. So that's something that we're very proud of. We also have a great art scene. We have so many museums in our Yerba Buena kind of Soma neighborhood. And there's just so much to see and do. And I think also what's great about San Francisco as a city, outside of the city also, is you've got wine country, you've got beaches along the coast, you've got Yosemite not too far away. So, you can stop in San Francisco, you can have a wonderful stay, a wonderful experience, but you can also, take a day trip to anywhere in the region and add to that experience. So I mean, there's so many wonderful things about San Francisco proper, but the convenience of also adding to that experience is also a great reason to visit.
Do we market a city the same way on the leisure side than on the conference side? That the business travelers, or for conferences, you're talking about Moscone. Moscone went through a major renovation, for people who don't know. Maybe we can talk about that as well. But
I don't know. I don't know all the specifics. Well, but that's a good question. I mean, how do we communicate to both types of audiences? So I would say that on the sales and convention side, like you said, we have a wonderful, newly remodeled and expanded convention center. So that's a huge plus. I don't know if you've been there since it's been expanded, but it is a lovely space. And we have this kind of sky bridge that connects the two buildings, and it's got a great LED installation in there, kind of a light installation. So and then certainly around Moscone Center, we have great hotels and great restaurants that can serve as places for meeting attendees to meet. And there's certainly lots of activities around the city for meeting attendees to lots of restaurants, activities, things for people to do. And then I would say that on the leisure side, it's kind of the proximity to other activities in the region, right? You've got so much to do in San Francisco, but hey, if you want a change of pace, wine country's only a little bit away. You can go down to let's say Monterey or Santa Cruz. It's not very far away, either. So I think when we think about the audiences, it's, what they're looking for in their experience, and San Francisco and the region really can fit the needs and what people are looking for, either for business or for fun.
When you talk about all of this, it sounds that we are in the best city in the world.
I think we are. I don't know if I'm biased, but I think we are in the best city in the world.
I think so too. Bro, so we're talking about the good things. Do you mind if we talk about, well, number one, the general situation of the COVID and how it does impact major cities, but I do believe that New York and San Francisco are probably the two major cities that have been impacted the most by the COVID situation. For people who don't know, most of hotels in San Francisco have been closed since March, and where the reopening day is, well, supposedly kind of now, but a lot of hotels seems to be reopening early January. But some hotels are already reopening. But so it's been pretty tough to say the least. Um, on your end, how do you see the impact on COVID that it has, and how do you see the, and no one can tell. I mean, no no one can say what's going to happen. I think it changes almost every day. But could you tell us about the COVID, the impact on the city, and what the city is doing to work and to be welcoming? Because that's our strength. It's a city where we welcome people. What have we done to make the situation better, comfortable for people to come back to San Francisco?
That's a great question. And like you said, we don't know where and when what's going to happen with the pandemic, COVID, and its impacts on any city. I think San Francisco is, from the latest that I've heard, is pretty close to being removed from the California watch list. So that's really positive for us. That basically means that we can start resuming some type of reopening. And like you said, hotels were expected to reopen around this time, phase 3. And there certainly are a lot of things impacting reopening right now, especially reopening of hotels. We are still, San Francisco Travel, and I know a number of industry partners are urging city government to allow hotels to reopen for leisure travelers. Hopefully, we'll have some resolution soon, because it certainly is very challenging for the industry right now. Like you mentioned, a number of hotels have shut down, and it would, and the industry is a huge employer of residents in San Francisco and the Bay Area, right? So it's not just welcoming visitors; it's also creating employment opportunities for residents. Yeah, so I will say that we have not been marketing actively for leisure travelers because we are not really open yet to welcome leisure travelers. But we do have what we call a safe travel pledge, and anyone can sign on to this pledge on our website. It basically outlines how you can travel safely in San Francisco, or when you visit, how to do so responsibly. Make sure to wear a mask, make sure to maintain social distancing, make sure to wash your hands frequently. All of the things that we've been told to do to minimize the spread, we're asking future travelers to sign on to the pledge so that they, when they come, can also do their part to minimize the spread as well. So that safe travel pledge is on our site, and hopefully people will continue to plan visits to San Francisco, and when they do, to actually do so safely and responsibly.
And this pledge is something that people can decide to do, but do travel agencies communicate these to their guests, to their customers, to their would that be something kind of mandated? Could it be mandated to have people to say, hey, if I come to your city, then I will make sure to follow those soft rules? Could we do that, or it becomes not welcoming enough. I
No, I
understand.
think that's a good, I mean, it's a good point that you make, how do we ensure that people are following the rules? Because that is the biggest concern. It's not a matter of our hotels or is the industry following health protocols, because the industry is. The concern is really people from outside of San Francisco coming to San Francisco, not knowing that they're sick, perhaps, and then spreading COVID, right? So it is important that people who come do so responsibly, because that's really where the risk is we in San Francisco know what to do, how to act, and do so responsibly. But it's the people who we welcome into our city who may not have the same, who may not have the same habits. So can we mandate it? I think that's a good question. Um, I don't think that we can mandate it, and I think if even if we did, it would be very hard to enforce. So it's really a matter of hoping that people follow the rules, are respectful, and like the greater message is when you wear a mask, you're taking care of somebody else. You're wearing a mask because you don't want to get somebody sick, and we hope that people who visit are considerate of that as well.
Got it. And you were talking about hotels. I mean, as we know, hotels are very, very strict. They put in place very strict steps and regulation. I mean, things to follow for any guest to come in. So I think they've been doing a very good work. They had with a committee. They had a committee working around this as well. So they came up with very strict guidelines that are much stronger than the CDC guidelines and whatever has been put in place. So I think the hotels in San Francisco have done a tremendous job to make sure that guests who come back will feel safe and will be safe.
Absolutely. And I think that's really the work of the Hotel Council, really leading the way with ensuring that the hotels in the city have the right protocol, the right safe and the kind of overly cautious, even maybe cleaning protocols, because I think we really value the health of the hotel employees who can be exposed, as well as the guests who want to feel safe. And so you're right, the cleaning and health safety protocols are top notch.
Very good. I'm going to talk about something else that is not very pleasant, but we have to talk about it because San Francisco has had this image sometimes or question that comes from people we know, families overseas asking about, how clean is our city and what do we do to try to make things better in San Francisco. Is this part of what travel is doing as well, as far as communication and trying to come up with solutions to give back that image, of San Francisco being it's not unsafe in any way, but cleaner, a little bit safer? What do we do? What does SF Travel does around this? How does it work?
Yeah, so we have a small public policy team. It is myself and my boss, Cassandra Costello. And so we also have a public policy committee that works on the issues that are specific to the tourism industry. And so certainly clean streets and addressing the street conditions is a top priority for our organization, because we know that visitors want to feel like they're walking, and enjoying a world-class city. But if you have garbage blowing around on the street, or if you have, other just unsightly experiences, you might not have the best time in visiting San Francisco. So our priorities are to address street conditions, but also to ensure that our unsheltered neighbors, our unhoused neighbors, get the support that they need. We, don't provide the solutions necessarily, but we urge city government to develop mental health services, to develop programs for those who may have substance abuse issues. And certainly we work with city departments to try to focus on cleaning dirty streets that have heavy foot traffic. So our priorities are to make sure that San Francisco is a clean, safe, and welcoming city by the looks of our streets, for sure. And we work, with city government and even at the state level to support policies that, will develop programs for housing and for substance abuse and mental health. So we're not focused just on San Francisco, but on the state as well.
Very well. Well, thank you. That's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work, yes.
Just this is a lot of work. So you have a program that is called Tourism Gives Back. It's a philanthropic program. Could you tell us about Tourism Gives Back program?
Sure. And it's a great segue, actually, because Tourism Gives Back is, like you mentioned, our philanthropic program. It's our volunteer program, essentially. And we do also have donation drives and some fundraisers here and there. But the primary function of Tourism Gives Back is to connect not just our staff members, but our partners connect them with nonprofit organizations in San Francisco that are working to address the areas of concern that we talked about. We work with nonprofits like the St. Anthony Foundation to provide meals in their dining rooms to those who face food insecurity. We worked alongside the Hotel Council and a number of our business improvement districts and community benefit districts to help clean and beautify different neighborhoods in San Francisco. And that was last year, where we had over 600 volunteers spread across the city to repaint, to plant trees, to picking up litter. And we also volunteer with Project Homeless Connect. They have their community day of service at the Bill Graham Civic Auditorium, where at any one of these events, they can serve up to 1,500 individuals who need help with eyeglasses, with getting their ID cards, or getting help, legal services. So many different things that you and I may take for granted, but someone who may not have the resources to get a haircut or to go to the optometrist can go and do so for free. And so we try to give back where we can. And it's also an opportunity for us to learn about the issues, to learn about who's impacted. We have these one-on-one conversations with people who need these services. And it gives us an opportunity to hear what their stories are and learn about what's being done to help. And as individuals, we can give back that way as well.
Very well. Thank you. Thank you for letting us know. I have one more question about one of the programs you've been working at SF Travel, and it's called Vision 2025. And I was just like, and I don't know if it's something you can discuss or not. Maybe you cannot, but I was just curious to know, what is Vision 2025 strategic plan?
Yeah, that's a good question. So at the beginning of the call, I talked about how we worked on incorporating sustainability into our strategic plan, and Vision 2025 is that plan. We started this a couple of years ago, and it really was, we went through the organization nearly top to bottom. What is our mission? What is our goal as an organization? What are the pillars that we want to stand by? What are our values? And so we convened a team of staff members who are from different departments, who have different tenures, so not just senior level, just all across the board, a good mix, a cross-section of team members to work on this project, to figure out what we feel our values are, what we think our goal and mission is, what value proposition we actually have, right? What we talked about earlier, what San Francisco has to offer. And then we also talked about what kind of our key initiatives should be as we prepare for the future. What kind of internal updates, improvements, enhancements can we make to function better than before? Can we work better among our team members? Do we have the right technology to market San Francisco effectively? How can we work better with city government, with community partners to make sure that our priorities with street conditions or other issues are heard and get results? How can we actually prepare San Francisco or plan for the next phase of Moscone Center, for example? Or how can we support attractions so that San Francisco, always has something new to offer? So it was actually a pretty big project where we talked internally, externally with partners, and then also as a destination, how can we support an evolution of San Francisco so that we're always going to be exciting and we're always going to have something special to offer each and every time someone visits.
Very well. Well, thank you for giving us some information about that, because I had no idea. I was like, whoa, very interesting. So I looked at what at your LinkedIn page, and I saw under volunteering, and I mean, you really walk the walk, right? You're doing what you're involved into. Could you tell us about volunteering? And as well, you're a board member of different associations. Could you tell us why you're doing this and how you pick those associations? How do you pick those volunteering programs you're being involved with? Because to name a few, but as far as volunteer, you did Walk San Francisco, St. Anthony, we talked about it, the California Academy of Science. You're a board member of the Hotel and Restaurant Association. You used to be a board member on Toolworks, on City College, and on SF Up. So, and that's just a few of them. Could you tell us why you're being so engaged, and which is great? And but I think you are a great example of, as far as not only talking, but being engaged with your community. Can you tell us about this?
Yeah, sure. So, I think I've been volunteering since, I think in high school. There's just such a great push for young people to be involved and be engaged and to give back. And that's always stuck with me. And I think as an adult, it became a way for me to learn about what's going on in the community. It's a way for me to literally give what I can. I may not be a huge donor to any organization, but I give what I can, and that's my time. And so that's where I feel like, I might not be able to make a big financial contribution, but where I can give my time to help an organization continue operating to serve, then I feel like I can, that's the best that I can do. And I get so much out of that because I also learn about, what's going on out there, and really to connect with people and to understand what the issues are, so that in my work, I can speak from more of a personal experience as well, that I'm not just pointing to something that I, see on the street or see, as from a superficial perspective, that I'm actually part of a solution. And I can see myself kind of not just benefiting from it because I get so much from each experience, but I also learn firsthand and can be a better advocate as a result.
So could you tell us about Walk San Francisco? What is that volunteering about? Because I did not hear about it before I looked at your LinkedIn profile. So I'm curious.
Yeah. So Walk San Francisco is a nonprofit organization in San Francisco that, advocates for pedestrians to be able to walk safely, to not fear for their life if they're crossing the intersection, to make sure that streets are safe from speeding vehicles, that, seniors especially, and children and people with disabilities can walk in San Francisco safely, to really eliminate vehicle deaths, collisions and deaths. And also really to where, urging enforcement sometimes of our street traffic to make sure that people are following speed limits and not, driving dangerously. And it's really ultimately to ensure that there are more spaces for people to walk and to do so safely and not having to fear for their life. And oftentimes, the communities that suffer the most from these vehicle collisions and fatalities are in low-income communities of color. And so it's really supporting the really vulnerable populations in our community. And I became involved because I want to see a future where we can walk, we can bike, and we have a safe way to do that, and infrastructure that allows people to do so safely. That if you didn't want to drive today, you could walk easily, or you could bike easily. And we have then a more vibrant community, more vibrant neighborhoods, because there's safe foot traffic and more people on the street, eyes and ears on the street. So that's kind of what the organization is and why I'm involved.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, San Francisco is probably one of the few cities in the US where you can walk the city, right? You're not going to walk in Phoenix, Arizona, especially not now.
Definitely not. You're right. I mean, we're talking about infrastructure. You want to be able to create a positive experience while walking on the street. And if you have, even Los Angeles, downtown Los Angeles, really long blocks, really wide roads with many lanes. And that's not a very pleasant experience, and it doesn't always feel safe.
No, if there is one city that is walkable in the US, I think it's San Francisco.
I agree. But it can get better because people are still, unfortunately being struck by cars.
So could you tell us what you're doing with the Hotel and Restaurant Association?
Yes. So the Hotel and Restaurant Foundation, which actually merged with the California Hotel and Lodging Association, it became the Hospitality Foundation, is actually a body that awards students with scholarships. These students are studying hospitality or food and beverage in California colleges, community college and university. And our role is to, ensure that this foundation is healthy financially, and that we are able to cultivate and support the next generation of hospitality and restaurant leaders by awarding them scholarships to hopefully help them achieve their dreams and move ahead in the hospitality in the industry.
And we had there was a ceremony at the Intercontinental Mark Hopkins, right? The last time,
yes.
Right? That was
yes.
with Michael Pace, and yeah, I mean, it's a great way to support the industry you're working on and to give a chance to people who cannot, come and work for this industry to be able to join in. So it's great. Very good.
Yeah, sure thing.
We are getting close to the hour, and I have a few fun questions for you. I always
They've all been fun. What are you talking about? They're all fun questions.
That's true. we try to make it fun. Some subjects are, but we have to talk about the good things and the bad things. But here it's very light. Voilà.
Okay.
And it's very about you.
Okay.
Before it was about you as well. Here it's very personal taste. So the question I like to ask my local hospitality leader that you are is, if you have friends, family coming to town, where would you bring them as far as, let's say, for a dining experience? And when I mean you can talk about San Francisco. Now that you work for San Francisco Travel, you have to be careful because maybe you cannot say one specific place, but if not San Francisco, in Northern California, in Napa, Sonoma, where for a dining experience, for an amazing dining experience, where would it be? For the food itself, or for the environment, or for both?
Gosh, that's a good question. I mean, it's been such a long time since I've actually gone out for a meal, actually. And maybe I should be dreaming of that, fine dining experience. But I will say that once upon a time when we used to go out to have dinners, I really enjoyed 1760 on Polk Street. Kind of mixed like a Californian style, I guess, but that encompasses everything. But they had, I don't know if they have it anymore, a really delicious duck burger,
Oh,
which
wow.
you cannot get anywhere really. I don't think. Actually, I've never had it outside of 1760, but I really appreciate their menu and that particular item, but I haven't been there in a while. I also really appreciate Trestle, which is kind of in the North Beach Financial District area, and Stone's Throw, which is the same restaurant group. But
Got it.
there are a few places, but it's been such a long time since I've gone out. I don't even know what that experience is like anymore.
And for street food, do you have something like very simple, casual? Is there something that where you like to grab a bite quickly somewhere in the city or in a?
Yeah, I mean, a quick bite for us or for me is just going to grab a burrito.
Burrito?
And I actually really like Gordo's,
Oh yeah,
which
well,
is
yeah.
in the inner Sunset, also in the Richmond.
Mm-hmm.
Also kind of like El Farolito if I'm in the Mission,
Oh,
but
yeah.
it's I find it's a little more convenient for me if, for some reason to go out if I'm in the Sunset more so than the Mission. So
As,
that's my quick bite.
as far as drink, Jessica, are you what are you into wine or beer or cocktail? Because now cocktails are very trendy. Is there
All of the above.
all of the above? Okay.
All of the above. But I do for cocktails, my go-to cocktail is a Corpse Reviver. And my go-to bar is Pacific Cocktail Haven Sutter.
Better.
On Sutter, yeah.
Yeah.
But again, it's been a while. Although they do take out bottles of cocktails now. A number of bars do that. So we were able to go by and support them, pick up a couple bottles, and enjoy them at home.
When you have family coming to town, where do you bring them as far as scenery? The outdoor place. What do you think is one of the? I mean, the Golden Gate Bridge is pretty obvious, but is there a place that you always bring back people because you just find it amazing? Is there a specific spot that you prefer?
That's a good question, and I'm thinking like, who comes to visit me? I don't have a lot of I don't have a lot of visitors because everybody I know is from San Francisco.
Oh,
My family all lives in San Francisco. My friends all live in San Francisco. My friends who don't live here anymore are from San Francisco. So there isn't any one place that I'm like, oh, I have to take you there.
yeah.
Because you've never been there before. Everybody I know has been to every nook and cranny in San Francisco. So that's kind of a generic, kind of a
Yeah.
not really exciting answer for you.
What is your favorite place for you yourself? When you like to, if you have time and if it's sunny in the city and you're staying here, where would you go? Where do you like to go? Which neighborhood or
Yeah.
is there? Do you have a specific one? Do you have a specific neighborhood you like? It's a sunny day in San Francisco. You have 4 hours ahead of you. Where would you go?
4 hours ahead of me. That's a good, yeah. We've been going out to the park often. Any green patch in Golden Gate Park has been really pretty spectacular. And often, now we're just taking walks. We live in Nob Hill, so taking walks around North Beach into Telegraph Hill or Russian Hill. I mean, those are always fun, pleasant, very, I find quaint walks because they're so residential.
Mhm.
And now without the cable cars running, they're pretty quiet and very leisurely. Although I do miss the cable cars because I take them as a sign of a thriving industry, right? So kind of you miss them a little bit, but then it's kind of nice that it's quiet now. So yeah, if I walking around the neighborhood has been fun. I do actually really like Lafayette Park, which is around Pacific Heights, because it's just so laid back there, and it's usually not too busy, at least the times that I go. And there's a dog park. We have a small dog, and you know, when the weather's nice, it's a beautiful place to hang out.
I'm going to ask two questions in one.
Okay.
What is the nicest property you went to, or the property you went to where you were very surprised by the level of service and by the property in general? You were just like, oh wow, this is just fantastic. I've never seen that. I've never experienced something like this. That's number one. My second question is, which city in the world that you travel to do you prefer the most after San Francisco?
Okay, of course. You know, talk about being preferential to any one of our members. Choosing a hotel is pretty challenging. But I will say there's a pretty easy one. I'll say the Ritz-Carlton in San Francisco, because that's where we had our wedding reception. So that's an easy one to pick out. And the staff there are so friendly and so courteous. And, you know, one of our favorite properties is, we've been very lucky to be able to stay in, is, you know, the Ritz-Carlton Half Moon Bay. I don't know if you've ever been there, but it's a beautiful property. So relaxing. So I would say in San Francisco, the Ritz-Carlton, because we got married, had our wedding reception there. And then if we weren't living in San Francisco, where would we go? I think London is a great city. I mean, so much nightlife, so much to see and do, and so a wide variety of food offerings now. I mean, there's that rumor or the reputation that London has terrible food, but I think that's changed now. So we would easily move to London if they let us in.
That's what I was going to tell you. I'm going to tell you where.
Yeah. There's a little bit of a ban now, but yeah, if they let us in, we'll go.
Very well. Well, Jessica, I really appreciate your time. Thank you for all the information you gave us about, you know, your career path, about SF travel, what you're currently doing, where the city is going. I think our viewers will really get a lot of good things from what we talked about. So thank you for your time. If anyone has any question, you can always put some comments and we'll be happy to answer them. Jessica, is there anything you want to add before we part ways? Anything you'd like to share? Anything you'd like to say?
Well, I just first want to thank you for inviting me on to your check-in this week, and just remind everybody to sign the Safe Travel Pledge on the SF Travel website, and remember to, you know, travel safely, wear a mask, wash your hands, practice social distancing, and the sooner that we can contain the COVID, the sooner we can resume normal life, hopefully. So wear your mask.
Very well. Jessica, thank you very much. Everybody, the city is getting cleaner day by day, so we're ready to have you. We're welcoming you. San Francisco's best asset are the people, and diverse culture from everywhere. So we're looking forward to seeing you in our beautiful city. And Jessica, keep up the good job. Market our beautiful city by the bay. And
will do. Thank you, Pierre.
Merci, Jessica. See you soon.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
Be safe, be well. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.